Hello everyone. Good evening and welcome. Thank you delegates and panelists for joining the session before time. My name is Megha Iyer, Associate Editor for B2B Purchase magazine, and we welcome you to an interactive procurement series on custom PEB for rapid construction. I welcome Mr. Nitesh.
Thank you, Megha. The Indian structural steel fabrication market is expected to register a CAGR of 5.5% by 2024. PEB steel structures in construction building are robust, rigid frames that are more cost effective for your storage needs and a fully operating fulfillment center. It can also save money by lowering the cost of component transportation due to relocation. Pre-engineered steel buildings are manufactured or produced in the plant itself. The manufacturing of structural members is done on customers' requirements. The detailed structural members are designed for their respective location and are numbered, which cannot be altered because members are manufactured with respect to design features. On this note, B2B Purchase, as part of its procurement series, has organized this interactive session on custom PEB for rapid construction. Leading PEB manufacturers, steel and metal manufacturers, PEB design specialists and professionals from concrete, precast, cement industries will discuss the future of rapid construction and how innovation may take PEB to new heights. So delegates, it's an honor for me to introduce you our distinguished panelists, Mr. Ashok R. Kulkarni, Managing Director, Nikita Buildtech Private Limited, Mr. Srirag C. Kaimal, Steel Lion Vice President Operations and Business Development, Prefab India Solutions Private Limited, Mr. Sunil Lidkar, National Business Manager, Trimble Solutions India.
Mr. Sunil, I would like to start with you. I would like to understand how are the design and aesthetic concepts reforming the PEB structures?
So earlier, in terms of PEB, we were limited with technology. If let's say, for example, I've shown you one Reva car showroom where a curved beams and has been designed, detailed, and fabricated as well effectively. So that type of design earlier was really a pain when we were using just a drafting board, a 2D drafting board, or a digital drafting like AutoCAD or any other technology. But now technology is there to do certain types of sheetings or claddings or a framing in that case, and build a sustainable building, and very effectively, so that there will be less of a material loss, effective management of the fabrication, and also material management, because material prices are also going up day by day, and you can't have wastage anymore, like earlier days, because that cost money as well as time, because the project will be delayed unnecessarily. So the digital technology is also helping delivering the aesthetics as well. So and that too with design implications. So design, aesthetics plus digital, will give you a good product at the end of it.
Thank you, Mr. Sunil. I totally agree about the emerging awareness of aesthetic side in design. Mr. Ashok, I would like to know from you, how is the concept of large span structures changing the design concept for PEB structures and engineering?
Definitely, being a large span, the one thing is, the number of columns are reduced. So there is a lot of comfort, as I mentioned earlier. And not only aesthetically, even inside layout, preparation, everything. And tomorrow, the steel structure, one advantage is, anytime when they want to change the layout, even after 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, it's very easy. Whereas in civil construction, they have to literally demolish and they have to spend for it. But in steel construction, that is the advantage, and especially when you have these large span structures, the internal layout can be anything. Today, for example, if I take this hospital, today those things can be wardrooms, general wardrooms. Tomorrow, if they want to convert into an operation theatre, tomorrow they want to convert into a special room, they want to change the layout, it's very easy. And currently in the present scenario, a lot of sustainable drywall systems also are available in the market. So that can be used so that the flexibility is more. They can always change the layouts and make it very easy. And because these large span structures beams having a less depth, so the number of floors can be achieved more. So the FAR, so the advantage for the investor as well as the developer is much more because they'll get more effective floor area. So that is the most advantage.
Thank you, Mr. Ashok. That really makes sense. Mr. Sriram, I want to understand how are the customized solutions enabling uniqueness with added efficiency in structures and infrastructure projects?
Good evening, ma'am. So, when you talk about the uniqueness and the efficiency of the structures using the PEB structures, basically earlier, if you see decades ago, when we wanted to do a customized solution or like a building different from a normal style, the architecture needs to be different. It was easy to do it in the drawings, and the drawing boards were always there for the architects to play with it, and the designers used to do the detailing and everything. But executing it at site was always a nightmare for the project team, because getting that talent, the experienced people over there at the site, and getting the right resource at the right time, and all the weather forecast, everything, just giving us all the advantages of the time. Being into the tropical climate, most of the time we can't predict the monsoon or the rainy season, when it comes, how the rain is going to come and when and everything. So it was a real tedious task for all the contractors as well as the clients as soon as the project started. But these days, when like Mr. Sunil and Mr. Ashok, how they mentioned about the PEB structures and the prefab software or the BIM software that's available, the life of the designers as well as the project teams have been really easy, because most of the production happens in the factory, and less of the items are being labor dependent. So the dependency on the labor has come down, and more of the materials are manufactured in the plant. So the timelines are really kept, and also the quality is really ensured since the production happens in the factory. So this makes the combination of quality, timeline, and the precision what they expect to be in the project. So definitely these days, architects and other clients really look forward to build custom products and buildings, and also the large span building with all the requirements. And in case if they have bigger tonnage, loading requirements, specific requirements, are the PEB buildings are really capable to handle it better than the conventional one. And also the flexibility in doing the renovation works, everything adds value to it. So definitely PEB has got an edge over the conventional structures when it comes to the uniqueness and the efficiency.
Thank you, Mr. Sriram. Definitely efficiency always matters when it comes to time-bounded projects. Mr. Ashok, what are the various aspects considered while designing and constructing a warehouse using a PEB?
For warehouse, PEBs are most ideal and suitable. The important thing what you need to consider is, what kind of height they really require, because it all depends on various kind of warehouses. The dry warehouse will have a different requirement, cold warehouses will have a different requirement, and grains like that. So the racking system inside is plays a vital role. So what kind of right now the equipments which are available, like a forklift, all that, they can reach even 12 to 15 meters height. So depends on that, the height can be achieved. So that is the most advantage in PEB. So we can comfortably design 15-20 meters, and the racking system can be provided. At the same time, even multi-storied warehouses are also going very well nowadays in terms of warehouses. Like I said, just now we are doing a project for Samsung in Chennai that has 3 floors. So the entire ground floor is a warehouse, and first floor they have electronic assembly, all that. So there is a lot of advantage.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ashok, for your comments. Mr. Sunil, Mr. Sriram very well mentioned about meeting the project timelines. So my question to you is, how is technology, your Tekla technology, is enabling you to meet the project deadlines with the quality output?
Earlier, Mr. Sriram also mentioned, how the architects and everyone is involved into this project. So the concept actually starts from architect, and then you have to integrate those architectural aspects into design and then detailing, keeping timeline of the project very well in mind. So how that particular architectural model or a drawing you can integrate very effectively into design and detailing and go further for a fabrication. That is very important. Here comes the technology, and if that is integrated very well, your timelines, I'll not say shrink, but you can actually maintain your timeline. And there are Tekla provides a technology where you can manage your project phase-wise. Let's say there are certain things like floors are to be erected, or there is a production house where different phases has to be erected. You can manage the phase-wise. You can do the prefab accordingly, get that particular material on site and assemble that part only. So instead of mismanaging your fabrication, like first phase, some part of first phase and some part of the second, not second but fourth or fifth phase is bought, and then you mismanage the fabric erection as well. So in the latest with the 4D and 5D management, you can actually manage that part of fabrication as well. You construct your model, you give phase-wise fabrication, output to your fabrication facility. They will fabricate and dispatch the material accordingly, and accordingly the phase-wise erection will be managed. So in a way, before erection with a model, you can actually estimate what time span will be required for fabrication, production, and erection as well. So that all can be managed. And since the model is 1:1 without, we call it as a virtual model without any mistake. So if there is a zero error while you are doing design and detailing process, definitely there will be zero error on site. So the revision part and everything is sort of neglected or eliminated totally, and through that process you can manage the timelines very effectively. And time means money, because there are a lot of back charges applicable today in today's world. If certain things goes wrong, you have to pay for material, you have to pay for delays, so all those things. So everything can be managed if you are using a good technology. You're utilizing your manpower resources accordingly. So yes, timeline can be managed right now. Earlier it was tough, but now it is manageable.
Thank you, Mr. Sunil. We all know how technology is impacting this sector very positively now these days. Yeah. Mr. Ashok, what are your views on it?
Yes, I really go with him, Mr. Sunil. In fact, the live example is our current ongoing project for Samsung. Because we also extensively use Tekla, and all our components. For example, this project having about 5,000 metric tons has almost about 2,000 plus components. So each component was identified and numbered at the factory and sent to ship to site, and we were able to easily locate it and then install it. Otherwise, it would not have been possible to complete this kind of project in 3 months installation. So we just started in mid of January, and today we are in almost verge of completion. And that's how the technology is really helping. And in fact, my special compliments to Tekla and the team. Software now and then, and definitely it's giving a lot of advantage. That even during execution of the project, or even during production, as he said, sequence-wise we can mark, we can understand how many components are produced, we can mark it, and we can understand what kind of installation is done, which component is going where. So there are a lot of advantages, and really it's good software as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ashok, for your comments. There's another question one of our attendees wants to ask is, what kind of role has prefab to play in projects like metros and railways, where timely completion of project is essential to ensure cost saving?
Definitely, this is going to give a lot of advantage, even for metros or railway stations, if they really adopt this pre-engineered building structures. Timeline and the cost is going to be a huge savings. In fact, we tried our best in Bangalore Metro Rail Corporation, BMRCL. However, nevertheless, they had their own conventional design and thing with a tubular structure, which really took a hell of a lot of time. In fact, our personal experience, we built 2 stations, but it took hell of a lot of time. But we were trying to change it to pre-engineered building, where because of some constraints, they could not really change it. But definitely, it is going to be very advantageous. Definitely cost as well as the time. Time is most important, and especially for these infrastructure projects, pre-engineered building is most advantageous.
Thank you, Mr. Ashok. Definitely time-bounded projects has to be taken very rigorously to for project completion on time. Mr. Sridhar, we spoke about energy efficient structures. So there's one question for you from one of our delegates, and that is, prefab manufacturers are now producing energy efficient structures. So what is your take on the development of sustainable prefabricated structures in India? And do we still have a long way to go for it?
Yes, definitely. We have a long way to go for it, but definitely we have a good start over here. Like the pandemic was again, we cannot say that the pandemic was actually hitting the complete industry. We know that how the industry has been changed after there's a complete different scenario between Corona and after Corona, like the COVID pre-COVID era and the post-COVID era. And we have actually gone through how everything gets to a halt when the labor availability is not there, and the designs are really taken into the conventional method and execution and everything. So when we do have sustainable designs in place, the prefab definitely, compared to the conventional buildings and the old age style, definitely has got more sustainability to offer, and the longevity is really high. And definitely, but yes, there are only few players in the market to offer this sustainable product. So of course, we have wide open market here, and we again the research and development and more activities are going on with everyone. Like Ashok, how he said the plant which he operates is producing new technology methods adopted from Turkey. Even our plant in Cochin, again, we do composite materials and composite supplies for beams, precast slabs, and all those things. So we are again, everyone in their own capacities are working on various research and development things to make more sustainable buildings in India. And we are really going to see a beautiful world in, let's say, by around say 2030. There are going to be really big change in the construction industry where the digitalization is going to play a key role. And definitely the sustainability is going to be seen in the coming years for all the projects that's being executed. Yeah.
Absolutely, you very well mentioned about digitalization and technology is going to play a key role in the near future. So how is technology really helping us or helping the organizations, manufacturers in adding innovation in steel structures in terms of design, longevity, and strength?
So when it comes to the innovation, like the technology is the best thing that always gives us a chance to do much more on the innovation part. Like the BIM softwares, whether it is Tekla, whether it is Autodesk, BIM 360 or any other softwares, when it comes to picture, the designers are getting more chance to do experiments, make the structure more efficient, make it more innovative, use different components, varieties or variations in the materials goes in. Even not only with the BIM softwares, these days there are workflow softwares, again the ERP softwares, which allows us to do the stock check of the materials available. As you know, the global crisis due to all the war situations, the material shortage, which we are facing in all the industries. So the availability of the materials, the stock we have, all these things can be gathered into one portal where we have all the softwares which can guide us. So the designers are getting a flexibility wherein they have one person who have the design and build team available. They have the flexibility to see what stock is available. If the project has got a timeline to get completed, and if they have certain stocks not available which were planned earlier, and they get a chance to see what is available right now, what is available in the market, make it a combination, how can we work it. So the things happen really quickly compared to the old age era where the revert on a quote or revert on a proposal, revert on any material requirement takes ages to come back. These days it's in our fingertips. So definitely digitalization is one thing which really has been playing a key role in doing innovation. And like Mr. Sunil added earlier, wastage. Since the prices are really going high, the wastage of material can't be afforded in any project. So that again, once we have the softwares and technology assisted platforms, we can actually optimize the production and we can optimize the other parameters wherein the wastage will be very minimum. And there is nothing like the contract has got. Earlier we used to consider the contract having 2% wastage, 3% wastage. Whereas these days, the wastage have come down to a bare minimum level where the clients are really enjoying the benefit of it because the overall cost that the client had to bear has come down. So in every way, the technology has really paved its way for doing innovations and the prefab products to have an advantage over it, like the conventional structure. And if we talk about the longevity and the strength, the age life of the building design, the design for the building is really normally considered to be 50 years when we say. But we do have buildings which stand for 100, 150 years also. But when it comes to the prefab building, the only thing that we need to take care of is the corrosion that can happen due to any kind of physical damage. So with respect to that, the longevity and the strength, the corrosion factors are all minimum and limited. Whereas in the conventional structures, we need to face a lot of issues. There are environmental situations, the pollution levels, everything plays a role in getting the structure maintained on time. So there are various factors which allow the prefab building to be on an upper level compared to the conventional structure.
Thank you so much, Mr. Srirat, for your comments. And you very well mentioned about addressing the corrosion issues in the prefabricated buildings. Mr. Ashok, how are you dealing with the corrosion issues In the composite beams that you have recently introduced and newly introduced, which is widely used in prefabricated structures.
Yes, especially in composite beams, one is the bottom is already protected with the concrete surface. So there shouldn't be an issue, and majority of the area is already covered. Now the other area is short blasted, and then of course there are special paints available now. It could be an epoxy, PU paints, or even fire rated paints of 2 hours, and all that is available. So once that is applied, I'm sure they are well protected. There should not be any issue at all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ashok, for your comments. Mr. Sriraj, what are your suggestions towards structural maintenance and O&M practices for custom PEB?
So, like Mr. Ashok mentioned, there are various paints available, various treatments available for the PEB structures, which can actually have long life ages, and it all depends upon the client budget. So, if the client have got a budget to go ahead with a minimum level of coating, yes, there are epoxies and PUs available, or otherwise, if they are ready to spend much more money compared to the age or usage of the building for decades to come in, they have another intermittent paint coatings or relocation that can be done. I will say that whether it is conventional building, whether it is prefab building, we should have a maintenance schedule for the operations team and the maintenance team to keep on. So there should be a logbook, there should be an annual check on the building, and especially in the PEB building, we just need to only focus on the corrosion part and not like the environmental pollutions and other impacts that's going to have impact on the conventional building. Unlike conventional buildings, when we deal with the corrosion, there should be an annual check for the coatings, any kind of physical damage, because all the buildings might not be used in a very intended way to be used. There could be abusive people who can actually just scrape the steel surfaces or scrape the paint, and the surfaces can again go wrong. And those things should be noted and addressed without having the rust particles or rust formation take the deterioration into the place. So there are annual maintenance procedures which needs to be in place, the standard operating procedures, part of it. So that can actually cover all the maintenance part of it. And compared to the conventional, protecting a PEB structure or the composite structure is much more easy.
Very well said, Mr. Sriraj. Mr. Sunil, what are your comments on it? You have been dealing with more into softwares and technology when it comes to prefabricated buildings. So what measures are being taken at your end to follow the best O&M practices?
As Mr. Sriraj and Mr. Kulkarni mentioned, you have to take care of paints and all those things, because for steel it is very, very important. So in technology also we have integrated something like paint coating. So if someone wants to maintain a building, or someone wants to at before and do the estimates, so we have that technology where we can calculate the surface area along with the paints and all those things. So we can also definitely help our fabricators and manufacturers to recalculate what type of maintenance might be required for certain structures. And definitely if you maintain those things, it can be definitely the structure can sustain longer. The best part, earlier questions, Mr. Kulkarni mentioned that the older steel can also be reused. So if you maintain that properly, the owner can use the same structure to extend his building, expand his building, or maybe re-erect his building. So if you maintain your material very well, you can do it. And in today's world with latest technologies, latest painting technologies, that is definitely possible to maintain your structure. So I don't think so that should be a problem at all, even though you are doing certain things at the seashore area. That should not be a problem at all. So if you come around Mumbai, since I'm from Mumbai, I can give certain examples of if you go through the old railway bridges or the railway stations, it's completely done on steel. So it's a steel structure which stands with the time, and it is almost a century-old structures. So if you maintain that properly, yes, it is possible. At least in today's world, today's technology, painting technology, and all those things coming up, we can do that for sure.
Definitely, this means we can do a lot of things with the painting technology and other upcoming technologies in this particular segment. So my another question is, does the transportation cost has a bearing upon the PEB structures and projects?
Yes, transportation is very important. So there was one question in our forum regarding, the construction of metro. But the land prices are going so up right now, and it is so costly that you can't have a facility at site. A separate facility. If you talk about, the space requirement in India right now, whichever city you want to take, it might be a premier metro city like Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, or a second tier city. The space crunch is very, very important. And if you talk about transportation cost, vis-a-vis that particular cost, transportation is, I still believe that it is better to do a prefab building where you can manufacture those building at certain area and then you send across your material. The good part is the government is also in line with this, and they are constructing good roads as well. So if you have certain requirement to transport heavy steel, that is also possible in today's world, since most of the metros are well connected, most of the cities are also well connected with the highways. So I'm not exactly into aware about what exactly the costing might be, but still the prefabricated structure is very much appreciated vis-a-vis construction on site, considering a lot of limitations within the city.
Thank you so much, Mr. Smidul, for your comments. Mr. Ashok, do you believe that the transportation cost has a bearing upon the PEB structures and projects?
Yes, definitely the transportation is a negligible part in PEB. Because if you look at the advantage, first of all, on the overall project, it is hardly about 1.5 to 2%. The transportation cost. From Bangalore, we have been in fact transporting even up to Himachal Pradesh. We have been sending to Sri Lanka earlier, of course not now, even in Bangladesh. In India now, for example, from Bangalore now it's being shipped to Chennai for the thing. So there is a transportation cost is very negligible. The other part is, if you really look at it, if you want to do a prefabricated structure at the site, it is highly impossible. One is the quality is not maintained. So it is definitely done under a controlled system where the entire setup is made in the factory. So comparing to all that, the transportation is negligible. So transportation is not a factor at all to consider. In fact, they have more advantages.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ashok, for addressing that. That's great. It was a privilege for us to have industry experts like you in this panel to discuss such topics. Now it's time for us to move towards the closing of this session. Can I request Mr. Sriram to make a closing statement for this session?
So, I hope everyone have really gone through the technologies that have been getting shaped up in India. Like we can say that we are a little bit backward when compared to the Western countries and everyone who is really been using prefab elements for last 150 years. And I believe the reason for us to be in a backseat compared to the Western countries for that reason are like the few of the reasons are like the skeptical mindset the people have over here about the prefab project. And the second thing is about the costing and the design options that's available. So I would say that there are really professional people over here in the country who can actually execute, run and deliver the projects for you in a very, really competitive way, in a very professional manner with all the digitalized software assistance and the services that we offer. All these PEB players, everyone these days, no, it's not like execute the project and just go run away. It's like it's more or less like our family, the clients that we have. So everyone these days are catering to the client in that way, and the services they offer for the maintenance part and everything, it can be jotted out, it can be listed. We can have a fantastic plan for that, and definitely prefab have got their own edge over it, and we are just going to witness a blast on that one. The construction industry is going to get changed. The digitalization is again to play a key role. The plans, the decentralized plans, the centralized plans, the production yards, everything is going to cater to the sector, the construction industry in India. And definitely by 2030, we are going to touch another big milestone here, and we will be right now leading the area with all these things. So that's
Definitely, Mr. Sriram. Thank you so much for such optimistic insights for prefabricated buildings in the coming years. Thank you so much, dear panelists, for this so much an interactive and insightful session. I request Mr. Nitish to take over. for the closing.
Thank you, panelists, for sharing your valuable thoughts on custom PEB for rapid construction. We hope you all have enjoyed the session. Before wrapping up, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. Ashok R. Kulkarni, Mr. Sri Rakshi Kaimal, and Mr. Sunil Lidkar. I would also like to thank our associate editor, Ms. Megha Iyer, and our editor, Mr. Prasad Nair, for taking this initiative. To get more updates from B2B Purchase, you can follow our social media pages, and also our application is available on Google Play and App Store for enhanced reading. So with this, we would like to announce the closing of today's session. Kindly stay tuned for more such sessions. Thank you, stay safe, and goodbye.